Eleanor Fagan, known professionally as Billie Holiday, was an American jazz and swing music singer with a career spanning 26 years. She was born on April 7, 1915, in Philadelphia, being the daughter of African-American unwed teenage couple Sarah Julia Sadie Fagan and Clarence Halliday. Sarah moved to Philadelphia at age 19 after she was evicted from her parents' home in the Sandtown-Winchester neighborhood of Baltimore, Maryland, for becoming pregnant. With no support from her parents, she made arrangements with her older married half-sister Eva Miller for Eleanora to stay with her in Baltimore. Not long after, Eleanora was born. Clarence abandoned his family to pursue a career as a jazz banjo player and guitarist. Eleanora grew up in Baltimore and had a very difficult childhood. Her mother often took what were then known as transportation jobs serving on passenger railroads. After attending kindergarten at St. Francis Academy, she frequently skipped school, and her truancy resulted in her being brought before the juvenile court on January 5, 1925, when she was 9 years old. She was sent to the House of the Good Shepherd, a Catholic reform school, where she was baptized on March 19, 1925. After 9 months in care, she was paroled on October 3, 1925, to her mother. Sadie had opened a restaurant at the East Side Grill, and mother and daughter worked long hours there. She dropped out of school at age 11. By the end of 1928, Holiday's mother moved to Harlem, New York, again leaving Eleanora with Martha Miller. By early 1929, Holiday had joined her mother in Harlem. Their landlady was a sharply dressed woman named Florence Williams, who ran a brothel at 151 West 140th Street. Holiday's mother became a prostitute, and within a matter of days of arriving in New York, Holiday, not yet 14, became a victim of sexual trafficking at $5 per client. The house was raided on May 2, 1929, and Holiday and her mother were sent to prison. As a young teenager, Holiday started singing in nightclubs in Harlem. She took a professional pseudonym from Billie Dove, an actress she admired, and Clarence Halliday, her father. Hammond arranged for Holiday to make her recording debut at age 18. In November 1933, with Benny Goodman, she recorded 2 songs, Your Mother's Son-in-Law and Riff in the Scotch, the latter being her first hit. Son-in-Law sold 300 copies, and Riff in the Scotch, released on November 11th, sold 5,000 copies. Hammond was impressed by Holiday's singing style and said of her, "Her singing almost changed my music tastes and my musical life, because she was the first girl singer I had come across who actually sang like an improvising jazz genius." Hammond compared Holiday favorably to Armstrong, and said she had a good sense of lyric content at her young age. In 1935, Holiday had a small role as a woman abused by her lover in Duke Ellington's musical short film, Symphony in Black, a rhapsody of Negro life. In 1935, Holiday was signed to Brunswick by John Hammond to record pop tunes with pianist Teddy Wilson in the swing style for the growing jukebox trade. They were allowed to improvise the material. Holiday's improvisation of melody to fit the emotion was revolutionary. In late 1937, Holiday had a brief stint as a big band vocalist with Count Basie. The traveling conditions of the band were often poor. They performed many one-nighters in clubs, moving from city to city with little stability. Holiday chose the songs she sang and had a hand in the arrangements, choosing to portray her developing persona of a woman unlucky in love. Her tunes included I Must Have That Man, Travelin' All Alone, I Can't Get Started, and Summertime, a hit for Holiday in 1936, originating in George Gershwin's Porgy and Bess the year before. Holiday was in the middle of recording for Columbia in the late 1930s when she was introduced to Strange Fruit, a song written by Abel Meeropol, recorded in 1939. It protests the lynching of Black Americans with lyrics that compare the victims to the fruit of trees. It was eventually heard by Barney Josephson, the proprietor of Cafe Society, an integrated nightclub in Greenwich Village, who introduced it to Holiday. She performed it at a club in 1939 with some trepidation. Fearing possible retaliation, she later said that the imagery of the song reminded her of her father's death, and that this played a role in her resistance to performing it. Holiday's mother, Sadie, nicknamed the Duchess, opened a restaurant called Mom Holiday's. She used money from her daughter while playing dice with members of the Count Basie band, with whom she toured in the late 1930s. It kept Mom busy and happy and stopped her from worrying and watching over me, Holiday said. Fagan began borrowing large amounts with Holiday to support the restaurant. Holiday obliged but soon fell on hard times herself. "I needed some money one night, and I knew Mom was sure to have some," she said. "So I walked in the restaurant like a stockholder and asked. Mom turned me down flat. She wouldn't give me a cent. The two argued, and Holiday shouted angrily, 'God bless the child that's got his own,' and stormed out." With Arthur Herzog Jr., a pianist, she wrote a song based on the lyric, "God bless the child," and added music. "God Bless the Child" became Holiday's most popular and most covered record. It reached number 25 on the charts in 1941 and was third in Billboard's Song of the Year, selling over 1 million records. In 1976, the song was added to the Grammy Hall of Fame. Herzog claimed Holiday contributed only a few lines to the lyrics. He said she came up with the line "God bless the child" from a dinner conversation the two had had. By 1947, Holiday was at her commercial peak, having made $250,000 in the 3 previous years. She was ranked second in the Downbeat poll for 1946 and 1947, her highest ranking in that poll, and she was ranked 5th in Billboard's annual college poll of girl singers on July 6, 1947. On May 16, 1947, Holiday was arrested for possession of narcotics in her New York apartment. On May 27th, she was in court. It was called the United States of America versus Billie Holiday, and that's just the way it felt, she recalled. During the trial, she heard that her lawyer would not come to the trial to represent her. In plain English, that meant no one in the world was interested in looking out for me, she said. Dehydrated and unable to hold down food, she pled guilty and asked to be sent to the hospital. The district attorney spoke in her defense, saying, "If Your Honor, please, this is a case of a drug addict, but more serious, however, than most of our cases. Miss Holiday is a professional entertainer and among the higher rank as far as income was concerned." She was sent to Alderson Federal Prison Camp in West Virginia, and the drug possession conviction caused her to lose her New York City cabaret card, preventing her working anywhere that sold alcohol. Thereafter she performed in concert venues and theaters. The loss of her cabaret card reduced Holiday's earnings. She had not received proper recording royalties until she joined Decca, so her main revenue was club concerts, and the problem worsened when Holiday's records went out of print in the 1950s. She seldom received royalties in her later years. In 1958, she received a royalty of only $11. By the 1950s, Holiday's drug use, drinking, and relationships with abusive men caused her health to deteriorate. By early 1959, Holiday was diagnosed with cirrhosis. Although she had initially stopped drinking on her doctor's orders, it was not long before she relapsed. By May 1959, she had lost 20 pounds. Her manager, Joe Glazer, jazz critic Leonard Feather, photojournalist Alan Morrison, and the singer's own friends all tried in vain to persuade her to go to a hospital. On May 31, 1959, Holiday was taken to the Metropolitan Hospital in New York for treatment of liver disease and heart disease. The Federal Bureau of Narcotics, under the order of Harry J. Ainslinger, had been targeting Holiday since at least 1939. She was arrested and handcuffed for drug possession. As she lay dying, her hospital room was raided, and she was placed under police guard. On July 15, she received the last rites of the Roman Catholic Church. She died July 17th of pulmonary edema and heart failure caused by cirrhosis of the liver. She was 44 years old. In her final years, she had been progressively swindled out of her earnings, and she died with 70 cents U.S. in the bank. When Holiday died, the New York Times published a short obituary on page 15 without a byline. She left an estate of $1,000, and her best recordings from the 30s were mostly out of print. Holiday's public stature grew in the following years. In 1961, she was voted to the Downbeat Hall of Fame, and soon after Columbia reissued nearly 100 of her early records. In 1972, Diana Ross' portrayal of Holiday in Lady Sings the Blues was nominated for an Oscar and won a Golden Globe. Holiday was posthumously nominated for 23 Grammy Awards. Billie Holiday received several Esquire magazine awards during her lifetime. Her posthumous awards also include being inducted into the Grammy Hall of Fame, the Erected Jazz Hall of Fame, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and the ASCAP Jazz Wall of Fame. In 1985, a statue of Billie Holiday was erected in Baltimore. The statue was completed in 1993 with additional panels of images inspired by her seminal song, Strange Fruit. In 2019, Charlene McRae announced that New York City would build a statue honoring Holiday near Queensborough Hall. On June 25, 2019, the New York Times Magazine listed Billie Holiday among hundreds of artists whose material was reportedly destroyed in the 2008 Universal Studios fire. The Billie Holiday Monument is located at Pennsylvania and West Lafayette Avenues in Baltimore, Upton neighborhood. Please check out the Spotify list of Billie Holiday's greatest hits, and I will be doing a rendition of God Bless the Child. Them that's got shall get, them that's not shall lose. So the Bible said, and it still is news. Mama may have, Papa may have, but God bless the child that's got his own. That's got his own. It's the strongest smart, while the weak ones fade. Empty pockets don't ever make the grade. Mama may have, Papa may have, but God bless the child that's got his own. That's got his own. Money, you got lots of friends crowding round the door. When you're done and spending ends, they don't come round no more. Rich relations give across the bread and such. You can help yourself, don't take too much. Mama may have, Papa may have, but God bless the child that's got his own. That's got his own. Money, you got lots of friends crowding round the door. When you're gone and spending it, they don't come around no more. Rich relations give requests of bread and such. You can help yourself, but don't take too much, as Mama may have, Papa may have, but God bless the child that's got his own. That's got his own.